In AutoCAD, we work in two environments. One is called model space, then we work in the paper space. In paper space, we create layouts. In this video, we will see the procedure to create and configure layouts. Model space is the default screen in AutoCAD, and this is where you actually create two-dimensional drawings and make 3D models in the actual scale in true dimensions. But the paper space is basically used for printing. Using paper space, you can plot any desired view of your drawing at any desired scale. You can access paper space in three different ways. The first method is just click on the model button at the status bar. So when you just click on the model, you will switch over to the paper space and you will see a white screen. The model button changes to paper, and you can go back to the model space by clicking on this particular button over here, and you can come back to the model space. If you don't see the model button at the status bar, you can click on the customization button, and here you have the model space option checked. If it is not checked, you won't see this button over here. So I'll just check it. The second method is click on the layout tab at the lower left corner. You can go to the paper space. You can click on the model tab to come back to the model space. Sometimes you won't see these tabs here. In that case, just right click and go to options, or else you can give the command OP at the keyboard. Then here you have to activate display layout and model tabs. If it is deactive, you won't see these tabs here. So I'll just activate it and give apply to get those tabs at the lower left corner. The third method is take the cursor onto the file tab. Then you will see the model and layouts. So just take the cursor onto the layout. You can be in the layout 1 or layout 2. And this is possible only if the file tab is available. If this file tab is missing, then you have to click on the view tab and then activate the file tabs button. Similarly, layout tabs can also be activated here. Just click over here to activate the layout tabs at the lower left. In this layout, you can see a viewport. This is nothing but a window to the model space. You can create any number of viewports in this paper at any desired shapes and orientations. We will see that. But before that, I would like to erase this particular viewport. So I'll select this viewport and I'll hit the delete button. This is nothing but a virtual sheet of paper. Now I'm going to choose a paper size and related properties. For that, you have to go to Page Setup Manager. You can access Page Setup Manager in two different ways. The first method is right click on the layout tab, and here you will get Page Setup Manager. Alternatively, you can go to Layout tab and you click on Page Setup button in the Layout panel. You will get the same dialog box. Here, the current layout is displayed as Layout 1. Now I'm going to modify the existing layout. I'll click on Modify. You will get the same interface when you give plot command. So first of all, you have to specify the printer. If you have one or more printers connected to your computer, you will see the name of that printer driver appearing here. Now presently, I'm going to plot to PDF. So I'll select DWG to PDF PC3 option. Now if you want, you can just click on the PDF options to control the various parameters related with the PDF, such as resolution and things like that. I'm not going to do that now. You go to paper size. You can specify a paper size related with ANSI standard or ISO standard. So I'll go for an ISO A3 size paper. So I'll select that. Then in the water plot area, you can either plot the existing display as such or the drawing extent layout, or you can choose a particular area within a window. So I'm going to choose the layout option because I want to plot the layout as such. Plot origin can be specified. I'm not going to change it. Next, you have to specify a scale. The default scale is 1:1 scale, which means that the true scale. Here you are supposed to specify two values. At the bottom, you specify the units in the drawing, and at the top, you specify the corresponding units in the real world. By default, 1 unit in the drawing corresponds to 1 millimeter in the real world, or it can be 1 inch in the real world. And this interface can identify only millimeters and inches. So since I have created my drawing in metric, I should select millimeters. But I have created this drawing in centimeters. So each unit in the drawing should correspond to 10 millimeter in the real world, which is 1 centimeter. So I'll give 10 here. The scale of the paper is 10:1. Then I'll give OK and close. Now you can see that this particular paper which you see here corresponds to an A3 size, and whatever you draw here will be in centimeters. Now I'll just go back to the original drawing in the model space and I check out the measurement. I'll just zoom in this area and this wall thickness is actually 21 centimeter. So I'll give dist command and I'll select this endpoint as well as to this perpendicular. Now the distance is displayed as 21. So from this it's clear that it is drawn in centimeters, but the plot dialog box gives you millimeters and inches as units. So that is the reason why I have gone for 10:1 scale. The wall thickness is 21. The actual dimension will be 21 multiplied by 10, which is 210 millimeters. I'll go back to the layout and I'll create viewports in different shapes, sizes and orientations. For that, I'll give MV command. MV stands for make viewport. Alternatively, you can go to the layout tab and you can just click on the various options here. You can go for a rectangular viewport, polygonal, or you can choose an object as a viewport. So I'll click on rectangular and I'll click on the first corner and the opposite corner here. Now this is a window to the model space. The concept is you have opened a rectangular hole in this paper through which you are seeing the drawing in the model space. Next, I would like to create another viewport in a different shape. So I'll go for polygonal option and I'll pick a number of points to define an irregular polygon. Just give an enter. Now you can see the same drawing in this viewport as well. I'll undo this. Now I'll go for a circular viewport. So I should create a circle first. I'll go for center radius option and I'll pick the center and drag to define the radius. I'm going to convert this as a viewport. For that, you can again go to the layout tab and I'll choose the object option. So the software will ask you to select the object that is to be converted as a viewport. Just select it. Now you can see the same drawing here. Next, I'll specify different scales in individual viewports. For that, you have to activate this viewport. And how will you activate a viewport? You can double click inside the viewport. Now the viewport border got thickened or darkened. Now when you zoom in, you're just zooming in and zooming out the drawing inside the viewport. But if you double click outside the paper, then you'll be working on the paper. Now if you zoom in, you will be zooming in and zooming out the paper, not the drawing inside the viewport. So similarly, I would like to activate this viewport. So just double click it. I can zoom in and zoom out. So likewise, you can activate a viewport by double clicking. Now when you double click outside the viewport, as I told you before, you are in the paper space and you will also get a triangular icon which is called a paper space icon. Now I would like to specify different scales in individual viewports. For that, you have to just double click to activate it. Then over here in the status bar toggles, you can see a number of predefined scale factors. And I would like to go for 1:100. The scale seems to be perfect in this viewport. Now you can just pan it slightly to centralize the drawing within the viewport. Okay, now I'll just double click to activate this viewport and I would like to give a different scale for the stair area. Let it be a slightly enlarged scale. So I'll give 1:50 instead. Now this viewport is in a different scale. Likewise, you can open different viewports in a paper with a predefined size and you can assign each scale for each viewport. Now the scale of this viewport is 1:50. But by mistake, if I happen to zoom or pan inside this viewport, scale will get changed. Now I'll bring it back to 1:50. So once you set a particular scale for a viewport, then you should lock that viewport in such a way that any display related changes such as a zoom or pan will get disabled in that viewport. For that, you have to click on the lock icon. Now we have a lock icon at the status bar, just click on that. Similarly, you can activate this particular viewport and you can just lock the view related changes in that viewport. Once you lock a viewport, if you zoom inside, you can see that display related change will be applicable to the entire paper and the scale will remain unchanged. Another advantage of using the concept of viewports in a layout is that you can retain the display of a particular layer in a particular viewport. That means you can control the display of layers specific to viewport. Let's see how to do that. Now in this drawing, we have used a number of layers and suppose I want to freeze all the text. So obviously we have to go for this freeze option. So just click on that. You can see that this freeze action is applicable globally. That means it is applicable to all the viewports. Suppose I want to freeze all the text only in this particular viewport. In that case, you can just activate that viewport by double clicking. Now you have another freeze option over here. It is called freeze ortho in the current viewport. That means in the active viewport, you can freeze that particular layer. Just click on that. Now the text layer got frozen only in this active viewport And you can see that in this viewport, the text layer is displayed. You can also freeze the borders of any desired viewport by transferring that particular border in a layer, and you can freeze that layer. Suppose if I want to hide the border of this layer, all I have to do is just go to Layer Properties Manager and I'll click on New Layer and I'll call this layer as Viewport Border or VP Border. Now the 0 layer is the current layer. Now I'll select this particular border and I'll click on VP Border layer. Now you can click on Freeze in the current viewport icon. So that layer is frozen only in the current viewport and the border of this particular viewport is hidden. Next I'll create a border and a title block in this layout. So I'll start with a rectangle and I'll just zoom in and I'll click my first corner point over here, and this dotted line indicate the printable area, and whatever is outside this dotted line will not be printed. Now I'll pick my opposite corner point over here. I can just eyeball this corner and I'll just make a click to define the opposite corner point. Next I'll provide a small border by giving an offset. So I'll go to offset command and I'll give an offset distance of say 0.5. Then select object to offset and side to offset, and I'll erase this border line. Now a little bit of rearrangement is to be done over here. So I'll give move command and I'll select this object, and this is the base point, and I'll just move it in such a way that there is a small clearance all around. Next I'll define a title block. So I'll start with a line and I want to start from a point which is at a distance of 15 cm from this corner. So I'll just shift right click and take from point and define this particular corner as the from point or base point, and I'll give an offset distance of @15 less than 180. In polar coordinates I have defined that corner. Then I'll turn the ortho mode on and I'll give a height of 6 cm and I'll just come back to this point. So this is the title block. Now I'll offset this line 2 cm downward 2 times. So I'll give offset distance is 2, select object to offset, side to offset, object to offset and side to offset. Next I'll offset this vertical line through a distance of 3 cm rightward. So I'll give offset, distance is 3, select object and side to offset. Then again I'll draw another line from this intersection through a distance of 6 cm straight up to this point. Again line, and from point, base point is this intersection, and distance is @6 less than 0, okay, to perpendicular. So this is our typical title block. There may be some small change in the title block layout. It depends on the company and the convention. Anyway, this is just an example. Next I have to incorporate text data into these fields in the title block, and that text data varies from drawing to drawing. For example, the name of the drawing may change, the person who has created the drawing may change, and the company name also may change if you are a freelancer. In that case, it will be better if you can make all these text as attributes. So I'll go to block and define attribute. So you'll get this dialog box. You're already familiar with it. I'll give my first tag as company name. I have to provide an underscore because AutoCAD won't permit you to provide space in the tag. Now prompt is enter the company name. Default I'll leave as blank. Then height of the text I'll provide as 1 and I'll give OK. Now it will ask you to place it at a location. I'll turn the OSnap off and I'll place it somewhere over here. Now this is my first attribute. Likewise, you can define the rest of the attributes. I'm not going to discuss all those things in detail here because we already had a tutorial on attributes. So this is how your title block appear once you incorporate all the necessary attributes. This is where the name of the person who has created the drawing will be written. This is the date and this is the title of the drawing and the scale and the sheet number. In all these attributes, I have used middle center as the test justification option. So let's check the justification point. When you click on this attribute, you will see a grip appearing at the middle center justification point. And this is the place for the company logo. So I'm going to attach the company logo here. For that, I'll go to Insert tab and Attach option. I'll click. Then here I have already created an image. This is that image. Now I'll insert it here. Now just give open. Here you can specify the insertion point on screen, scale factors and things like that. I'll give OK and I'll click to insert the logo here. Now you can just move the mouse to specify the scale factor. Now using the move command, I'll position it precisely at the desired location. So this is how the logo will appear. Next, I'll block the title block along with the border. But before that, you can incorporate any changes in the existing attributes if needed. For example, I want to change the attribute prompt of drawn by attribute. So I'll just select the attribute and I'll press Ctrl 1 to get the properties palette. Here this is a lengthy prompt. So I would like to reduce the length. Instead of name of the person who created the drawing, I'll write enter the name of the designer. Okay, that will suffice. Now give an enter. So that change will be incorporated. Next I'll give block command. So I'll come to the block panel and I'll click on create block. When I'm asked to give the block name, I'll give title block or title BLK. An insertion point, I would like to keep at the origin. So I'm not going to change the insertion point here since it is already set at 0, 0, 0. Now I'll select the objects, select the border as well as all the attributes. If you want the attributes to be prompted in a particular order, you can select the attributes in that order. So that order is immaterial for me. So I've selected the whole attributes in a single window. Here the delete option is selected. So the entire object will get deleted from the screen. Okay. Next I'll go to insert command and I'll select the block to be inserted. Here the block is the title block. Now the insertion point is 0, 0, 0. Now you'll be prompted for the attributes. Scale of the drawing I'll give 1:100. But for this particular enlarged view, we have a different scale. We will write that scale underneath. Then enter the sheet number 1. Enter the title of the drawing. It's a civil plan. Then enter the date. Enter the name of the designer. Enter the company name. Okay, so all the necessary details are incorporated and I'll give OK. Now you will see the values of the attributes written in the respective locations. Now after inserting this title block, I have realized that there is a spelling error in the name of the company, so I want to edit it. So I'll go to block panel and I'll select the single editing, or you can give a command EATT edit, that is enhanced attribute edit command, and I'll select this. Now the name of the company is displayed here, so I'll make the correction. There's an unwanted I here. Okay, now it's corrected. So this is how you make a title block. And this title block can be reused any number of times in any desired drawings with A3 size. Now some more additional text can be incorporated on the paper. So I'll click on the single line text. This is the start point. I'll give a height. By picking, I'll specify the height. And I'll write the text as say plan view. Now move it, position it precisely. Now I'll copy this text. And I'll keep it over here. And double click to perform editing on it, and I'll write stair view 1:50. Now enter. Again move to position it. So that text is also written. Next we will see the concept of annotative objects in AutoCAD. Text layer in this viewport is frozen, that is why it is not displayed here. Now I'll throw that layer back. So I'll click on Home tab, Layers pop up, and I'll just click on this particular icon to get it back. When you look at the size of the text, you can see that the size of the text in this particular viewport is double. That is because of the change in scale. Same is the case with dimensions. So in AutoCAD, there is a concept of annotative style in text and dimensions, using which such situations can be easily dealt with. Let's see that. I'll double click on the paper to go back to the paper space. Now you have got the paper space icon. I'll give dist command. And I'll get an approximate distance for the height of my text on the paper. And I'll pick a point from here to here. Suppose I need this as the height. I'll give say 0.2. We have got 0.21, so I'll make it 0.2. Next I'll go to model space and I'll erase this text. Next I'll click on the annotate tab and I'll click on this arrow over here to get the text style dialog box. And you have an annotative option which is presently available. Just select that style and set that as a current style. Now you have to specify the paper text height, which is 0.2, and apply. Next you should make sure that these two icons in the status bar are on. The first icon is show annotation objects. Second icon is add scale to annotative objects. Now you click on the scale of the first viewport, which is 1:100, and you write a text. So I'll click on the single line text and I'll go to justify option and I'll select middle center as the justification and I'll pick a point over here which is the middle center point, give an enter for the rotation angle. Now you can write a text which is stair room. Give enter, enter. Now this text appears in the desired height in the scale of 1:100. Now you can just click on the text, click on the grip and you can position it at any desired location. Suppose I want to position it over here, you can do that. Next you click on the next scale which is 1:50. Then you click on this text again. Then you select the grip and you can position it at any desired convenient location for that particular scale. Just click there. So you have created actually two versions of the same text corresponding to each scale. Next you come back to layout and here you can see that in the 1:100 scale you have created a text of the stair room, and even in 1:50 we have the same text, but both these texts are having the same height on the paper. That is the advantage of using text in annotative style. In each viewport, such text will maintain a constant scale but can have different positions by grip editing in individual viewports. In order to get a constant size on the paper, alternatively, you can also create these objects right on the paper instead of creating these objects on the viewport. Let's see that. Before we do that, we should activate the paper space. Presently, the model space UCS icon is active. Just double click on the paper to activate the paper space icon. Now you can just zoom in this area. I would like to dimension this length. So I'll go to linear dimensions and I'll pick these 2 points and I'll mark the dimension here. The same dimension can also be incorporated over here. So go to linear, pick these 2 endpoints and just pick the dimension and location. Now you can see that these 2 dimensions are having the same size. Now I want to cut off the zeros and I want to align the dimension text with the dimension line. So I'll go to dimension style manager, go to modify and I'll go to primary units, decimal precision to 0 and I'll click on text. Now the text alignment align with the dimension line and give OK and OK. We have got the required changes here. So when you adopt this procedure, you have to repeat the same steps on all viewports. That means I have done the same dimension over here as well as here. But if you do it in the viewport, after activating it, whatever drawing or editing operation performed in one viewport will get reflected in all viewports. But in that case, we have to create dimensions in annotative style. So that's all about the concept of annotative styles. Now we have created one layout with all the necessary elements in it. Generally, we need more than one layouts in a typical working environment. So how will you create that? But before we create more than one layout, it is always a good practice to rename the existing layouts. So I'll just right click over here and I'll click on the rename and I'll call it as 2D plan. Next I'll right click over here and I'll select move or copy option. I want to take a copy of the existing layout and I want to keep it before layout 2. So just select that and click on create a copy and OK. So the new layout will be renamed as 2D plan within brackets 2. I just want to rename it to presentation. Okay, just click on that. It is exactly the same as 2D plan because it's a copy of it. Now you can select the viewport and erase it. But if you want to erase this viewport, you should see the border of it. So you can just throw the layer of that particular viewport, which was border. Now you can select the viewports and you can give erase. Because in paper space, each viewport will act as an object. So you can manipulate it the way you manipulate an object. Now these are all created in paper spaces, so you can erase all those paper space objects. So you have the title block presently with you, so you don't have to create another one. Next you can create new layouts. So click on layout tab, rectangular, and I'll make one layout here. Now I'll create one here, then one more here. This is my new configuration of layouts. So you can have any desired type of view and scale in the individual viewports. So likewise, you can create any number of layouts in AutoCAD from a single drawing, and you can plot those layouts once it is properly configured. So in the next video, we will see the procedure to plot the existing layouts.